So here's the idle air control valve from my last video. I ended up replacing that spring on the inside right behind this plate here. I realized the old one was pretty worn out. Here is the old one. That's the new one. There's the size of the new one. Put some gasket maker on there to seal the plate back on. Put a little machine screw in there in that pinhole to keep this in place. After messing around with this thing, make sure to hook it back up to 12 volt and then let it get warm. And once it's in the warm position where that plate should be closed all the way, just hook up a hose and blow into it and make sure you don't have any leaks. Air can also leak out of this back end here if this isn't tightened down all the way. What happened to me was initially I was having cold start problems where this plate wasn't open enough. And it would be really hard to get the engine going, long cranks. It would just bog down and die on its own unless you gave it throttle. Once I got this back open, the cold start issue went away. But then I started having idle hunting issues where once it was warm, it'd be 1,000 RPMs, jump up to 1,500, it would bounce, or it would even go up to 2,000 RPMs when you're kind of coasting. I realized that the plate had stuck open this time, so I basically just had a vacuum leak. So make sure that plate functions as it should. After you mess around with it, just hook it up to 12 volt and just sit there. It should only take 2-3 minutes for it to close all the way. So we're gonna try this thing out and see if it works. Also, just to note, this is not where the idle air control valve is normally mounted. Normally it is, if you go on the passenger side behind the wheel, lift your flap up, it is tucked in this area over here. It is a huge pain to get to. That's why I had to do it once, so I just mounted mine back up here. After this, I'm going to include a couple videos on what the cold start with a closed valve looks like and what a hunting idle with an open valve looks like, and then we'll get to what hopefully the rebuilt valve does. So here's an example of my idle air control valve not closing all the way. You can see the idle's hunting. So I drove it around a little bit. My engine's warm. You can see if I manually cut it off, it idles okay. You can see there it's still open. So we're going to cold start it here with the idle air control valve almost shut.
Head.
Got a cold engine.
Pairing. Pairing.
Moment of truth. Try cold starting with the rebuilt idle air control valve. Looking pretty good. I'm gonna speed up the video from here, just so you don't have to wait till it gets warm. We drove around a bit, got her up to temperature. She's idling pretty smooth. go. So no more hunting idle, no hard cold starts. If you have one of those issues, it's probably going to be either or. If you have a hunting idle problem with hard cold starting, could be multiple things. This car definitely had multiple things wrong with it. Taking into account that before I got to this point, I replaced pretty much the whole ignition system. I got a new coil, new ignition module, new plugs, new plug wires, new distributor. My distributor was leaking oil. So there was a lot of work that went into it before this. So it might not just be your idle air control valve. If you have hunting idle issues, it could easily be a vacuum leak somewhere else too. It doesn't necessarily mean that your IAC is stuck open. You might just have a broken vacuum hose or something popped off. Thanks for watching. If you guys have any questions, let me know.